Hi guys, thanks for coming to watch my video. Today's lesson will continue learning about integers. Our objective for the day is I can use positive and negative numbers to represent and compare quantities in a variety of real-world contexts. Hopefully you're asking yourself what that means. Basically, we want to explore using positive and negative numbers in the real world. Yes, we do use positive and negative numbers in lots of ways in the real world. But before we talk about that, we have 4 vocabulary words that we need to give our attention to. The first one being an integer, and we talked about this last week. An integer is any positive or negative whole number or decimal. Integers can be found on the number line. Our next vocabulary word is a negative number. And a negative number is very simple. It is a number that is smaller than 0. So some examples, we could have the number -1 because that is smaller than 0. You can have the number -2 1/5. That is less than 0. You could have the number -17.45 or -17 45/100. That is less than 0 as well. Our next vocabulary word is a positive number. And hopefully you're thinking positive is the opposite of negative, so the definition of a positive number has to be opposite of a negative number. And it is going to be a number that is larger than 0. And some examples for numbers that are larger or bigger than 0. 4. 3 2/5. And we could have 43 75/100. Those are all examples of numbers that are larger than 0. Remember, if you are writing a negative number, you must include this negative sign. We have one more word that we need to explore before we begin our lesson, and that is neutral. If something is neutral, it is not positive or negative. And in our case, a neutral number, there is only one. 0 is neutral. It is not positive or negative. It's just 0. So, in a moment, we're going to learn some words that will give us some hints to whether things are negative, positive, or neutral. Just to recap very quickly, we want to see how negative numbers are represented in the real world. We have integers, positive or negative whole numbers or decimals. We have negative numbers, numbers that are smaller than 0. Positive numbers are numbers that are larger than 0. And neutral numbers, or if something is neutral, it is 0. 0 is neutral. It is not positive or negative. let's bring our focus to this. Integers in the real world. They are important because they're used daily. We use integers in our real lives on an everyday basis. Hopefully you're asking yourself, well, how are they used? Time, temperature, speed limits, sea level, and we've talked about this briefly. We're going to talk about it a lot more today. For those of you who are sports fans, sports. An example of an activity that people may use it, mountain climbing or banking. Right now, a lot of you don't show interest in banking, but believe you me, when you become an adult, it will mean a whole lot more to you. So we have, and just an example I want to show you on the number line. Numbers to the right of 0 are always going to be positive. Numbers to the left of 0 are always going to be negative. And 0 is going to be what we call neutral. We talked about that just a moment ago. Neutral means that it's not positive or negative. Certain words are going to give us clues and tell us if if a number is positive, negative, or neutral. So if we are in everyday life, these are a list of some words that you may come across. Real world integer vocabulary, and this actual document is going to be available for our lesson today. You could print it, you can just open it to use it. My suggestion would be to have it out when you are doing today's activity. When you are trying to decide whether a situation in life is referring to a positive or a negative integer, pay attention to the words that are being used. Below is a list of words that will help you. So let's focus on our positive words. And I'm going to zoom in just to make it easier to see. So this is not the entire list. There are lots more words out there, but these are some of the more common words that are going to be used in the activities that we do in school. So you have words like earn, save, deposit, gain, won, rise, rose, increase, ascend, profit, revenue, above sea level, temperatures increased, and over par. Those last few that I mentioned may sound a little weird to you, may not have heard them before, but over par is a golf term. So in the sport golf, when your score is a positive number, you're over par. Being above sea level, we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let me direct your attention to the negative integer vocabulary. Lose, spend, withdraw, loss, lower, decrease, expense, descend, debit, penalty, below sea level, temperature decreased, shipped, deduct, deductions, write a check for, under par, owe, discount. Those all indicate negative numbers. And the last part that I want to bring your attention to are words that mean zero or neutral. So a neutral charge. The equator would be neutral because when we are talking about longitude and latitude on the equator, The equator is 0. Sea level, the word par, no charge, or if you broke even, that's another word that means a neutral number. I have a few examples that I want to share with you to help you understand a few topics that we are going to have to visit and understand when we're talking about positive, negative, and neutral vocabulary words. The topic of sea level. You see this picture that I've printed off, and I hope you can recognize that it's almost like a scene from maybe a beach. And right here, right on top of the water, where like the sky meets the water, this is called sea level. This is where the sky, the water meet right on top of the water. I'm not above the water. I am right on top of the water. I am not below the water. I am right on top of the water. This is sea level. Now, you may notice this green area, and this is actually probably some kind of hill or mountain on the side. And this can represent above sea level. So right here would be sea level. And if I start ascending, and if you ascend, that means to go up. If I ascend up this hill, I am above sea level. And this is going to represent positive numbers, and I'll put the positive sign in parentheses. Sea level is going to represent your neutral number of 0. This bird is above sea level. These clouds are above sea level. But down below, looks like you have some kind of fish, might be a shark, definitely some kind of fish. I am underneath the sea level. I am below sea level. And this will always be represented with a negative number. Next is an example just showing you. Here is a mountain. Here is sea level. That's the dotted line that you're seeing going across. And remember, sea level represents 0. And then you can see that there's some kind of lake or whatever here on the side of this mountain below sea level. You see where these white dots are? That's showing you that this is 155 meters below sea level. Whereas the top of this mountain is 1,025 meters above sea level. Do you see the difference in how the number is written? Negative 155 and 1,025. That means the height of this mountain is 1,025 meters tall above sea level. And the depth, how deep this lake or whatever this is 155 meters below the surface of the sea. Here's another example. If you are out in the ocean or in a lake or beach or wherever and you are in a boat, you are at sea level. Do you see how the water is different? You can see the ripples up here. He's riding on top. He is at 0. But here you have some sharks and seemingly an unfortunate person riding a dolphin. And I'll try and zoom into this so you can see. But this person, the dolphin's tail, is at 30, we're going to call it meters because it could be feet, inches, whatever, below sea level. And it's represented by negative 30. Whereas we can say that the sun, the bottom part of the sun, is at 65 meters above sea level. We can also say that the shark is down here at negative 40 degrees, or I'm sorry, meters below sea level. One other way that we can explore positive and negative numbers is with our temperature. And I want to point out to you that this temperature is being given in Fahrenheit and Celsius. We're just going to focus on Fahrenheit because that's what's normally used in our society. Celsius comes up every now and then as well. But looking at this thermostat, you can see that this temperature, and I'll try and zoom in just a little bit closer, is at about 81, I would say 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Or if we were reading Celsius, I'd say about 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Or I'm sorry, Celsius. It should be a C. Celsius. So we got about 82 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 degrees Celsius. And if we take a look at this picture here, what do you notice about these numbers? I hope you see the negative sign and see that this temperature is below zero. These are negative numbers. And I would say for Fahrenheit, this is about, let's say negative 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Or we could say about negative 22 degrees Celsius. So, yes, you will use positive and negative numbers in real life. We use temperatures on a day-to-day basis. I want to go over a couple examples with you, and then we'll practice together. So, when you're doing your assignments, you want to make sure that you pull this handy dandy handout up because it will help you. So we're going to read some scenarios and we're going to decide what's the integer, what's the number, positive, negative, or is it a neutral number? So the first one says a football team lost 45 yards. Well, words like lose and loss tell me that this is a negative number. So if I lost 45 yards, it is going to be negative 45. That word lost tells me that it is negative. Jonathan earned $60 mowing lawns last week. This word earned, and just happens to be the very first word on the positive side of the integer numbers. If I earn $60, I can write that two ways. I can write that as $60, or I can write plus $60. Now, I'm going to be honest, there's really no reason in you putting that plus sign in front of it. When you write your age, you don't put plus sign in your age, and that's a positive number. So you can just write a regular number. Next one, Alice descended 20 feet below the surface of the ocean. Well, if you look here, the word descend is a negative word. So if she descended 20 feet, that's negative 20 or minus 20. The temperature dropped to 15 degrees below zero. 15 degrees below zero is negative 15. James withdrew $25 from his account. Well, withdraw, right here, withdrew, that is another key word that this is going to be minus $125 or negative $125. After paying his last bill, Dwight owes $0 on his credit card. If you owe $0, that is a neutral number. That means 0. Robert deposited $37 into his account. Well, looking on my list of words, there is the word deposit right there. That's a positive word. So I'm going to have $37. Elizabeth hiked a mountain which was 1,287 feet above sea level. Well, above sea level, it's right here, and it is on our positive integer vocabulary sign. So, 1,287. The company lost $5,394. Well, lose, loss, those are words related to lost. So that is a negative number, negative $5,394. And finally, Carly's dog gained 10 pounds.